Coming in at my number 3 is a 1985 film directed by Tom Holland, who also directed Child's Play. Just a great director all around, starring Chris Sarandon, Roddy McDowell, Stephen Jeffries, Amanda Bierce, and it is Fright Night, guys. This is one that I grew up on. The later ones that we're getting into here, obviously I'm going from 10 to 1, least to greatest. These are ones that I've watched since I was a kid. Some of the earlier ones I watched as well, but not as much as these, so that's why they're coming in at a higher rank. Fright Night, love the story. Pretty much this horror fan who is trying to have sex, trying to hook up with this girl, and starts seeing some weird things next door with his new neighbor. Finds out he's a vampire, tries to convince everyone that he is a vampire, and fails miserably. It's like The Boy Who Cries Wolf. I love Stephen Jeffries as Evil Ed. Amazing, trying to, tell Charlie that he's crazy, but then giving him help to get a little bit of money. And Chris Sarandon's Jerry Dandridge, one of the most classy and average, normal vampires that you will ever see, but a true terrifying bloodsucker at night. I love that. Everything about this one, this screams 80s. It has an amazing 80s vibe to it. 1985 was actually a year for a lot of great horror films, and this is one of them. Love the feeling. Love everything about this one. Effects are great. The makeup with the vampires make it, how they look. That's the classic vampires, and that's what I love about it. Acting, story, directing, everything within it makes a fantastic vampire film known as Fright Night, which everyone knows. Coming in at number 2 is a 1987 film with an all-star cast, directed by Joel Schumacher, who kind of went downhill after this movie, as you know, directing Batman and Robin, which is a weird career choice. Weird to go from this film to that, but this is an absolute classic. Love this one. And it is The Lost Boys. What else can I say about it, guys? It is what it is. All-star cast. Jason Patric, Kiefer Sutherland, Corey Haim, Corey Feldman, Jamie Gertz. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. Rest in peace, Corey Haim, for passing away. The two Coreys, great chemistry between those two. And other films that they were in besides The Lost Boys. Love the story, guys. Single mom taking her son away from what they've been through to Santa Carla, trying to start anew. Can't really do that once her oldest son, Michael, runs into a group of bloodthirsty teenage vampires, of whom he joins their group, drinking blood, thinking that it's wine, and he starts to turn into a vampire. Then you've got the conflicts with Sam trying to get his brother back to normal, and having to hire the Frog Brothers, these teenage vampire hunters, to deal with the situation, and going throughout the film. Kiefer Sutherland, guys, amazing as David, one of those antagonists that you love to hate. He just seems really cool, but he's such a douchebag. Jason Patric is Michael, Corey Haim is Sam, Edgar Allan Frog. Just love this film, guys. Always have greatest 80s vibe to a vampire film, in my opinion. And I love the whole teenage aspect. This film was originally viewed to be, to start as children. It wasn't supposed to be 17, 18-year-olds. It was supposed to be 12 and 13-year-olds as vampires, which I believe, if they would have went to that, it wouldn't have been what it was. This was pitched by Joe Schumacher, I believe, to be, older 17, 18-year-olds, and I believe that that's one thing that he did right within this film. And I love the shots. Cinematography is great. I love the way that the characters looks. I mean, it is the 80s, and it looks like the 80s, and that's what I love. So, classic, The Lost Boys, my second favorite vampire film of all time. If you haven't seen it, what are you doing? You need to watch The Lost Boys. Anything within the top 5 that I've mentioned you need to watch, and really the top 10. I mean, I love all of these. Some more than others, obviously. The first few weren't my favorites, but coming down to my number 1, if you watch Late Night Frights, if you watch my personal channel, you should already know what this is. You already know me, and you already know my favorite vampire film of all time. This film was made in 1998, classic starring James Woods, and it is John Carpenter's Vampires. I love this film, guys. Grew up on it. Daniel Baldwin, James Woods, Cheryl Lee, Thomas Ian Griffith as Valak. I love the story. I love this Western-style, choreographed vampire film that John Carpenter always wanted to do. He always wanted to do a Western film. He loved it. And, going into the desert with this one and making it what it was just fantastic. And this is one that doesn't get recognized, and it's one that I think deserves so much more praise than it gets. I mean, it's just fantastic. I've always loved it since I was a kid. Jack Crow being the head of the, I'm not exactly sure, it's sort of Jack Crow, the leader of, I mean, it's a mercenary group of vampire slayers led by a church, pretty much, and he leads them to different vampire locations and different hives to take out all these vampires and hopefully find the headmaster of each individual section. And he does just that, only he finds more than the headmaster. He finds the headmaster of all vampires, the very first vampire to ever walk the earth. And it's really, really cool seeing James Woods being this badass Jack Crow and his right hand Daniel Baldwin and everything that happens in it. I love the shots, guys, and the practical effects. There's a scene where Valak goes up to the door. A guy opens the door, and Valak just slits him with his nails right up his stomach, and his torso just completely falls apart. Amazing, amazing practical effects, guys. Just so awesome. And I don't know why it doesn't get recognized as much. I love everything. The dialogue's amazing. James Woods, who plays Jack Crow, is just this your average fucking badass that you don't think anyone can take him down until it shows that he is vulnerable in certain sections. But I just love the whole vampire hunting experience and just seeing this. It's dirty, it's gritty, it's grimy. It's a vampire film like you've never seen it before, I can promise you that. The Western feeling to it is just amazing. Everything about it. John Carpenter did an amazing job. One of his last few good films that he's done, in my opinion. I mean, he's done a few here and there since then, but nothing like the classics that he's did, and this is definitely one of them. 1998, John Carpenter's Vampires, guys. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. The opening scene when I was a kid, me and my dad would watch movies late at night, and this is one I remember, the opening scene where they pull up and they gear up, and I see him grab the crossbow, and you don't really know what's going on. I mean, it says vampires in the opening, title, so you know it's about vampires, but you see them bust open through the door and they find all these vampires just hiding within, the creaks of these houses and, like, the attic and all these different places, and they take these vampires out. He shoots them with the crossbow, and it's hooked up to a winch, and the winch drags them out into the sunlight. It's just so badass, guys. If you haven't seen it, definitely check out, most definitely, my number one, my favorite vampire film of all time, John Carpenter's Vampires. So there you go, guys. That is my top 10 favorite vampires films of all time. These are a great list. I'm sure a lot of people have a lot of different opinions. Everyone does. Opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got one, and that's great. This is not the official list, once again, so if you didn't have your top pick in my list, I apologize. This is my list. So please don't, leave hate comments down below. This is not the right top 10 list. This is my top 10 list, and these are ones that I absolutely love. So I'll run by them one more time. My number 1, John Carpenter's Vampires. My number 2, The Lost Boys. Number 3, Fright Nights. Number 4, From Dusk Till Dawn. Number 5, Interview with the Vampire. Number 6, 30 Days of Night. Number 7, Salem's Lot. Number 8, Underworld. Number 9, I Am Legend. And number 10, Once Bitten. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Stay tuned. Tomorrow, Chris Brock will be going over his top 10 favorite vampires, top 10 favorite vampire films of his choice from least to greatest. So stay tuned for that, and that will continue throughout the week with all of our members. I'm the Jay Sloan. You just watched Late Night Frights. Comment and subscribe. And as always, guys, keep it horror. Peace.